welcome back everybody to the next fortress. Quick reminder, this is the third of 4 episodes that I am doing in post because I lost both my audio and my recording, my voice recording of the playthrough. So I am doing this again in post because I have to, well, I don't have to, it's just I think you'd be bored of not hearing anything, whether it be music or sound or my delicious voice. I do apologize. I know the music doesn't quite fit quite right, particularly right now in this sort of cutscene. It should sort of be like a more like leading up music instead of like you're smack dab in the middle of battle. But all of the guys, all the bosses that are in yellow, say roughly the same thing. When we fight the last of the elemental bosses, it'll say something a little bit different when we defeat it. But cockatrices, not great. Traditionally, them and the little guys around them, which I believe are called lamas or something. I don't know. Lamias. I don't know. They're snake women, essentially, is what they are. Medusas, whatever you want to call them, and they are generally, along with cockatrices, known best for their ability to petrify. I'm sure the cockatrices in this game have that ability, but that is something if you're playing it, fantasy games, Final Fantasy is a great example, and you run into one of these types of characters, you have to watch out for these two things. One, particularly with cockatrice, is usually petrification. There's usually some variation of a petrification that usually does not wear off after the battle ends. It sort of acts as a, hey, you better go get this cured or have an item that cures it, or you're going to be petrified forever. On the other hand, snake women are better known for their charm ability, where they generally turn one of your characters against you, where they are not dizzied, i.e. they randomly pick one of the opponents or allies to attack and then attack them, but rather they are on the opponents or the opposing side's team until you knock them out of the charm or lust or whatever it's usually called charm in most games. In this game, knocking charm off is not hard. Typically, you'll just take any character that is either a range dealer. You're going to do the opposite of whatever they are. So, I'll give you an example. You have an archer. The archer does range damage. You would want to use its direct, it's essentially a fist. You would throw a fist and punch them in the back of the head or side of the head or whatever, and that would knock them out of the charm ability, as well as sleep. And there's probably one more that I'm not thinking of, but I definitely know sleep and charm are the two that you would use this on. Or if you're a character like Denim, where you don't have a bow and arrow, you would use its secondary ability, which, much like Annie and the other character that just went before Annie, you have the ability to throw a stone, which is usually the way you want to go about doing this. Is you don't get close because, say, you're a ranged unit or you don't have a ton of defense, so you're just going to throw a stone at your ally, knock them out of the sleep state, knock them out of the charm state, and they take 1 damage, and that's not that big of a deal, in terms of their entire pool of health. The berserker we just saw there, that would be 1/122nd of its total health mass. Ugh. By the dubs. You can see I've got a Necromancer now. Recruited that in one of these dungeons. I don't think it's this dungeon, but I think it, or fortress, but I recruited in one of these fortresses as I was going down the path, if you will, the different battles. I ran into a number of necromancers, and I mean, I got one, so that's great. You know, thumbs up to finally having a necromancer as an option for my team. But I was trying earlier in one of my non-recorded levels. I was trying to recruit a male necromancer. Not that it really matters if you recruit a male or a female. They don't really differ at all, other than slight statistical differences. But I have a lot of female characters on my team, and I was sort of hoping to try and balance that out with some, male characters. It doesn't ultimately matter. I could run an entire team of female characters, an entire team of male characters, and the fact that I have too many of one and not enough of another doesn't really bother me at all. But just for the sake of, like, okay, you're running 2 Valkyries plus the healer plus our air soul and a mage and your dragoon and Kashua are all female, and the main character Denim along with Mirrodin and Canifis, and to a lesser degree Donalto, who I haven't really been using a ton of, but we might see him more once I change Olivia into a druid, whatever they're called, oracle. We might be seeing more of him, so that'll help in terms of the gender disbalance. Will help to balance it out a little bit. Not really any, mental choice per se. It's just that, as I mentioned earlier in either this episode or a previous one, your title characters, the ones that have unique fortresses, tend to be stronger on average than a comparable recruit that you either get in the game, either by recruiting them or hiring them at a local town. It just the way it is. They want you to use them. So great. I am, as I've mentioned before, I am missing out on certain characters. There is there's Zapan, who's only recruitable in the because it happens before the second choice. He's only recruitable in the lawful path, so if you go chaos, he dies before you hit the split between continuing down chaos and going neutral with the storyline. So he's your title berserker. I kind of fucky-wuckied the is it Ganap? The Beast Tamer with Oda and Berta. I kind of fucked that one up. I should have recruited him. He would be not that I would use a ton of Beast Tamers, but he would have been a regular Beast Tamer. And what else? I missed out on one of the sisters, as I mentioned before, but that would increase the number of females on my team, not decrease it. Trying to think who else I've missed out on. There are other characters I'll get when I play through neutral or well, not neutral, when I play through chaos and then I play through lawful, but we have to get there first, I guess. So depending on how the next couple turns go, in the fact that most of the snake lady Lamias are hanging back and sniping me from the back. I think when the boss moves up towards my front line, we're just going to take out the enemies in and around the boss and, focus down on killing the boss and be done with this and not piddle around with trying to clean up the board like I did in the previous two fortresses, So. Weird. I'm trying to hit her, but it's not working. And instead of targeting the cock trees, targeting the ground between the cock trees and myself. Kind of weird. And now it's going over top. Okay. Course correction fixes everything, but you miss out on the critical damage by choosing to do that one instead of the other one. So it's a matter of choice, I suppose. Course correction would work if you've got your Fusilier hanging out between your mages and frontline people. If you can get space, then the critical attack's worth way more than course correction. Good use of course correction, bad use of killing myself by using it. As I mentioned, this episode's going to be a little longer than the rest because it did take me a bit to, for the boss to come my direction, and I was piddling around a little bit too much trying to kill these other cockatrices, and I'm not sure I properly equipped my Dragoon for this battle. I think she still had anti-dragon stuff on her. Which meant that the people that she's buffing, well, first of all, she's not popping the buff because there's no dragons on the board, and then on the other side, you're missing out on the extra beast damage you could be doing, both through the buff and, her using her magic to power up her damage, direct damage dealing. So, I was driving my coworker home. Somehow I know how we got on this subject, but just for the sake of the story, somehow we got on, we started talking about watches, and how some people will spend an ungodly amount on watches. And that has become a culture, and that's fine and dandy. But I don't know, how do I explain that? Do you need the fancy luxury vehicle to attract chicks? Does it work? Yes. Signals you have money. Watches can also signal that you have money. But in a lot of cases you can. Okay. I am slightly into watches, but I am not into spending thousands upon thousands of dollars on watches, okay? I am only interested in getting a high quality watch that I can use in my everyday wear, okay? And so I bought a used Hamilton offline because I like the way the design was, and it's a mechanical watch. It doesn't have a battery in it, which is one of the things I was looking for, and it has, it comes from a reputable brand, and I spent a couple $100 on it, not like $1,000, but like $250 roughly, I think, on the watch. And I really like it a lot. I don't think I would spend much more on a watch than that. because it just, I don't know, it seems like kind of a waste to me. Particularly as watches, you can go to your local Walmart and get a watch for 20 bucks. And that watch can serve the exact purposes of a watch, whether it has a battery in it, no battery in it, whether it's mechanical, digital, whatever, you know, it'll serve your purposes. And if you need to replace it because it stops working, you know, aside from replacing a battery or something, it stops working in 5 years, you can get another $20 watch and you'd still be, in terms of dollars spent, you know, $200. You essentially kept $200 in your pocket and compared to me. Okay. But for me, I'm not really interested in collecting watches. I'm really only interested in owning one or two really good watches. And by good watches, I mean, you know, good name brand watches that, you know, I can wear every day. And, you know, if someone decides, you know, I don't know, they're a watch nerd or something, and they look at my wrist and they go, "Oh, you've got a Hamilton," and they hold me up for it, and I give over my watch to them, they steal it or whatever. I don't, $200 is a decent chunk of change, but it doesn't make me want to, like, regret buying it. It's sad, you know, that someone stole the watch off me, but I don't necessarily think anyone's going to rob me for a relatively plain looking watch, unless they knew exactly what I'm wearing. And even if they did, I don't think they would try and rob me for a watch that they could probably sell on the secondary market for, you know, a couple $100, $200, maybe. Plus, I've worn it for multiple years now, so there are some imperfections on it, I'll say. It's not beat to hell or anything. It's got this nice glass or whatever crystal cover to it that doesn't scratch, so that's nice, but some of the metal's getting a little bit dingy, dented, beat up. I know there was initially on the, I don't know what this is called, but on the outside rim, where the glass is, the metal, there was a little dent in it, which is one of the reasons I was able to buy it for quote unquote less money. Point of my story, though, is about a Christmas or two ago, I was looking around to replacing the wristband on it, which is also came with the watch and is part of the whole package. Okay, and found out that a replacement wristband from the same company that makes the watch would run me like $100 or $120. And I thought that was a bit extreme, because the watch itself, you know, if it was brand new, say it was like $500, you're saying that the wristband on the watch is worth 1/5 the total price of the watch? Or at least in the case of what I bought, I spent, like I said, about $200, $250 on it. You're telling me that the wristband to replace is worth roughly half what I paid for it. And I find that absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the wristband's very nice, made of like a leather material with the outside isn't really like a, I don't know what do you call this material, but I like the wristband. That's why I wanted to replace it with something original, but not for $100. You know, I thought it'd be like maybe 40, 50 bucks. Somewhat, what I consider somewhat pricey, but you know, something where if you did replace it, you know, you're not actually talking about the gears and the mechanisms. You know, you're not taking the watch in to be serviced. You're replacing the wristband. You know? I don't know. Maybe I'm that's part of watch culture. I just don't understand. Um, like I said, it's more like a leathery, whatever. I don't know what this outside material is, but it's kind of leathery. So your leather's going to break down from taking the watch on and off and on and off and on and off. It gives you a nice. I think it gives a nicer feel to wearing the watch than having metal. But I guess I can understand why people would have the metal band because it would not break down and need replaced. And I can understand spending bigger money on a metal band than on a leather one. And I know I can go to my local jewelry store, Walmart, whatever, and probably get a replacement band for way less. But I was just trying to keep the watch, not upgrade, but replace the wristband, but have the original feel of the watch still there, roughly speaking. And I don't know. I may just try to clean the wristband because it has this. I keep wanting to say jean material. It's some sort of mesh, feels like pants material, but it's not jeans. And it's gotten dirty from years of wear and soaking up some of my sweat from wearing it all the time. I may just, like I said, just give this a scrub and see if it will look better, because I haven't quite, the latch portion hasn't exactly eaten through yet. I need to physically replace that portion yet. And that's my very long story about my watch that I've owned for 5 or so years now, that I love and still works great. The only time I've ever had to wind my watch was initially when I got it, and 1 or 2 times where I didn't wear it for a week, for a couple months. Had a Google Watch for a bit. I like the Google Watch. I just don't like the fact that, like everything else in this world, I don't like putting batteries into things, and I don't like recharging things. Obviously your cell phone has to be recharged. It is what it is. You either have a wired mouse or you have a mouse keyboard with batteries. Take your pick, which one do you like better. Not really a great choice either way on that. But technology is what it is. But the watch drives me nuts because you like literally have to charge it every day, or you have to put it into some sort of power saving mode, and then it'll still run out of battery within about 48 hours, which is kind of annoying, particularly when you go from a watch that never requires you to really wind it or put batteries in it to something that constantly has to make sure you plug it in at night, or make sure you charge it before you go to work. Oh no, it ran out of battery. I'm gonna have to charge it for a couple hours to get it back working. It's nice. It's nice to have, because if you get a text message and you don't have your phone in your pocket, or even if you do have your phone in your pocket, you look at your watch and you go, okay, I can read part of the initial text and know whether or not it's, oh, my mom, or oh, it's spam. And then they promise you other things that it can do, but a lot of those things are, hidden behind a paywall or whatever. Like, for instance, it'll monitor your sleep schedule. Well, I apparently don't sleep at all because I wore that stupid watch for a week, day in, day out, with, the exception of when I was charging it. I'd wear it every night before going to bed, put it in a nighttime mode so it wouldn't turn on while I was, sleeping or turning over or whatever. And the only time I took the watch off for about a week was when I was charging, which would be a couple hours in the evening after I came home from work, before I went to bed. And I would go to bed and you would check it in the morning and you would be like, how was my sleep? And the thing was like, you slept 0 hours and 0 minutes last night. I'm like, okay, I'm either not subscribed to whatever tier I need for that level of information, or the watch isn't doing quite what it should, or I'm not sleeping. I'm not physically getting. I'm resting. My eyes are closed. I'm hitting some sort of sleep-like state. But I am not actually hitting REM sleep at any point, or getting any truly valuable sleep. All right, we should be coming to the end here soon. We're gonna, at this point, I'm focusing down on just killing the boss, and whoever dies, dies, and whoever doesn't die, doesn't die, because I'm done fighting the other characters on the board. And you can see some of my other people that are on the board are starting. They haven't really run out of, but my Fusilier looks like the Berserker are both going to go from the count of 2 to the count of 1. And then I'm going to have a couple turns here. I'm going to have the Necromancer finish off the boss here. Why? Because I haven't mentioned this yet, but Necromancers are they're like glass cannons. They're defensively weak. You don't want to get them in range of anything because they will die in 2 to 3 hits, at least based on the enemies I've fought. But they seem to deal ungodly amounts of magical damage to the point that it's like, how the hell is a dark spell versus a, well, this Cockatrice is bad against dark, as you can see. It's got some sort of dark debuff on it, but nevertheless, 500 damage is a fucking shit ton of damage to be doing to something, when most of my other bolting type spells are doing somewhere in the ballpark of 300. Magnificent. Alright, well, we're going to cut the episode here. And when we come back, we're going to be doing the last of these temples, fortresses, whatever you call them. And then we'll move on to the end of the game after that. So